How you all doing today? Good to have you all out here. My name is Roger Steele. For those of you who don't know who I am, just know that does hurt my feelings a little bit. But no, basically I'm a golf personality, content creator from Chicago, and golf has given me everything, and a big part of my platform and my mission is to make sure that we continue to diversify the game. And that's not just making new people feel welcome in the sport, but that's also making them feel included. And so, today I've had the opportunity, up till today, I've had the opportunity to work with some of the biggest brands in sports, the Nikes, the Callaways, working with Kemper. I've worked with the PGA Tour, USGA, obviously work with Youth on Course. And I've seen a lot of different things. And one of the biggest things that we have to continue to work on is how do we continue to make the game appealing, accessible, and just very viable for Gen Z. And so, I have this special group of people up here today, all much more accomplished than I am. But we're going to talk about some things. And I wanted to ask, for all of the people out here, do y'all know what Gen Z is? Do you know what group that is? Because as I look around, I don't see a lot of Gen Z represented. You right here? Okay, we got one. We got any? We got a few of them. Got a few of them out there, But I will argue from the ages of 10 to 25, y'all don't really know what y'all need anyway. So it's good that we up here plotting on that for you all. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and start introducing the panel. So first up to my left, we got Val D'Souza. All right. So he's Vice President of Operations at Kemper Sports. Prior to his current role, he was a regional manager at Kemper Sports and served as general manager before that. Val has more than 20 years of experience in the hospitality and club industries, including more than 6 years with the PGA Tour properties and 7 PGA Tour and Champions Tour events. He's a Class A member of the PGA of America, and he's earned several industry honors, including Merchandiser of the Year, Top 100 Golf Shop, National Customer Satisfaction Awards, and he served on the board of directors for the First Tee of Greater El Paso and Sun Country PGA section. Currently, Val heads up player development initiatives for Kemper Sports as he continues his passion for growing and teaching the game. That was amazing. Give it up for Val. And give it up for whoever put that bio together. That was amazing. All right, all right, so next, we're going on to Brooke Watts. Brooke is the LPGA Class A professional instructor at Forest Creek Golf Club in Austin, Texas. Her specialty is in performance enhancement and corrective exercise, and she uses a biodynamic approach to teach her students how to swing the golf club. Brooke has been a part of the implementation of many innovative programs at Forest Creek targeted at Gen Z and is passionate about finding new ways to cater to her younger students. Give it up for Brooke. As I told Brooke, I do identify as Gen Z, so I will need you to implement some of those things on me as well. Next, we got Richard Franklin over here. What's up, baby? The founder of Discover Golf, he's a junior golf coach, and his passion is to use golf as a medium to inspire and enrich human lives. Discover Golf is a game-based coaching philosophy that is endorsed by over 300 golf facilities on 5 different continents. Richard spends his summers running his junior golf program at Deer Path Golf Course outside of Chicago, Chi-Town stand up, and his winters as the director of junior golf development at the Desert Mountain Club in Scottsdale. Give it up for Richard. And give it up for that Chicago-Arizona split, one of the best ways to spend a life. All right, last but not least, we have my good friend Ashley McLaughlin. Ashley is the Vice President of Marketing and Communications at Youth on Course. If you're not familiar with Youth on Course, I am a global ambassador for Youth on Course. But they work with courses across the country to give access to golf for $5 or less at nearly 2,000 courses nationally. She has more than a decade of experience growing brands through digital content and experiential marketing. Prior to Youth on Course, she was a managing director for the LPGA Women's Network. Ashley strives to bring more underrepresented groups to golf through creative branding and marketing. She is also an LPGA certified teaching pro and competed on a women's golf team at Florida State University. Give it up. She does work. Okay, so as we get into our discussions about Gen Z, it is a pretty broad range. So we're looking, 10 to 25, and I think that it's important that we segment that a bit, right? So when we're looking at junior golfers, we're typically looking at 10 years old to 13 years old. They have a specific set of needs. You know, they're either just getting into it or looking for ways to develop in the sport at pretty early stages. But then we get to 14 to 18 in the teenage range, and then we start to deal with people that have more complex needs. You know, they're experimenting with different things, using more technology, you know, looking for community, really trying to understand who they are as you know, young people. And then when we get to 18 to 25, this is where we see some huge influence, right? You know, they're graduating from high school, you know, they're playing on college golf teams, they're getting jobs, they're starting to have some disposable income, they're still using technology. And it's like, man, each one of these groups, they all need, you know, a lot of effort from us, but they need it in very particular ways to make sure that that experience sticks, you know? So as we go our first section, let's take a look at, you know, junior golfers, and this is our 10 to 13 age range. And let's start with Richard. You know, you do some great things with Discover Golf. Talk to us about how you're making the game more accessible and appealing for this age group.
Roger, thanks very much. I think what we're going to do now is we're going to play a quick video. I think it's always best to watch and see Discover Golf before I try to explain it. So I'll let the video roll here, and then I'll kind of do some backfilling.
Let's get down to business. Mama, please don't want to bob. Mama, Papa, ask me. Friends keep telling me to leave. So let's get down to business. Let's get down to business. One more night, got this. We've had a million nights just like this. Let's get down to business. Let's get down to business. One more night, got this. We've had a million nights just like this. Let's get down to business.
Okay, well, that's a brief snapshot. What I'd like to do with the group is I'd like to just share one quote and one question. A quote that I'm constantly reminded of comes from William James, one of the great philosophers of our time. And he said that mankind will essentially always see his world as a theater for heroicism. I'm going to let that stick for a second. And then I'm going to ask a question to the group, which is, what would golf improvement, the golf experience look like if you stripped it down to its bare essentials? So what I'm constantly reminding myself of and our game engineer team is that it is a stick, a ball, and a child. And when you strip it down to that and you bring in tandem the quote that I mentioned previously, I think you get a sense of what we're trying to do at Discover Golf is to remake the golf improvement experience into a theater that allows each child to demonstrate what is heroic about them. To me, that is a design opportunity. The fact that each child brings something unique and special to each and every one of us when we're in a coaching atmosphere. Unfortunately, the traditional constraints of golf make it very difficult for children to showcase their unique competencies. It is very difficult to physically apply yourself with a metal club and a tiny ball on any kind of golf course. So what we have tried to do is create a child-appropriate stage where things like resource management and collaboration and artistic social skills can pervade the scene as much as the physical demonstration of golf. And so the final point that I'm trying to make is that I think we as an industry can also enlarge our scope of what is possible. We don't have to call it golf instruction. We can call it something like enlightened physical education. So I think as an overarching statement, that's really where Discover Golf is trying to find itself right now.
That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. And Brooke, you know, you do some very interesting things as far as just getting kids equipped and ready to go out there and take on golf from a developmental and skills perspective. Talk to us about that.
Well, the way that I teach golf is through a biodynamic approach. So every student, whether they're 4 or 84, I take them through a 12-step assessment because there's only 1.8 billion ways to swing the golf club, and it's all correct depending on how you move. So I always tell my students, if I'm not assessing, then I'm guessing. So this age group, all of these different sections of this generation, we have to be constantly assessing what is their body going through, because your body is going to change tremendously during these years. So it's a way to make junior golfers much more athletic, make a move that's much more repeatable, and it also helps protect their body and make sure that they don't get hurt. So it allows the success rate to go up, which increases their enjoyment for the game of golf, which allows them to play this game for a lot longer.
And that's huge. I know that, for me growing up in the game, not having access to quality instructions or things that solved for me as an athlete comprehensively, it really was a hindrance to how much I wanted to apply myself to the sport. And I think, getting them started off with quality instruction is a huge barrier to overcome as we try to keep them involved. But Val, you work with a lot of players and programs, especially on the competitive side, right, with the PGA Junior League. Talk to us about how competition at that age group is servicing their retention in the sport.
Yeah, so once you introduce them to the game through Discover Golf or through the junior camps that Brooke and her team do, or what any PGA professional holds, it's that progression to the next step where they come home to mom and dad and say, well, I really like that. I want to get better. Right? So they keep taking lessons and they keep pursuing the program, but like any other sport, then it comes time to join a team. And what they're really doing is they're joining a community, right? Even kids in this age group still want to be a part of something. They want to join a group. They want to be a part of a community. PGA Junior League allows them to join a community of their peers who are learning the game, who aren't quite experts yet. So there's very little fear of the unknown there. And they're able to go out and play in a social, fun environment where golf is very appealing and easy. It's generally a scramble format, so there's no pressure. It's a lot of fun, very much like what you saw in Richard's video. If you watch PGA Junior League competitions, they get to wear uniforms, they get the cool stuff with sports too. So it's a great program to continue graduating them through those entry-level steps of golf.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Because I know that a lot of times, some of the more traditional ways that we compete as kids is kind of anxiety inducing, right? And when you could get, especially something like golf, when it really is all on you and you're not really used to being that accountable with yourself, it is good to have formats like that break it up. But another big part of that is access, and the ability to be able to afford to go out to these golf courses. And so when we look at what you're doing with Youth on Course and the access to the game, how is that really solving for how we keep, this group involved in the game?
Yeah, for sure. I think, when we think about this age group, 10 to 13 and then even older, this is that, and I'm starting to enter that phase of life too. I'm the shuttle and carpool mom, right? I have a lot of activities and sports for my child that I have to choose from, and kids are expensive. Nobody told me that. They are expensive. And so as a parent, choosing golf for your child is pretty difficult because of the exorbitant costs that come along with participating in this sport. And at Youth on Course, it's our mission to help eliminate cost, which is the number one barrier that keeps families out of participating in golf. For those unfamiliar with what it is that we do, we help ensure that all young people have affordable access to the game. And so if your child is interested in golf, or like mine, who just wants to ride on the golf cart and swing a couple times during a round, choosing to pay $20, $30, $40 every time they want to go out and play and practice is pretty cost prohibitive. And so we work with about 2,000 and growing golf courses who care just as much about this issue as we do, who've opened up their doors to our members and allow them to play at certain days and times that they decide for no more than $5, which makes a decision about golf a lot easier for parents to make. And it helps ensure that all kids have the ability to participate in this sport, and all kids have the opportunity to get better at this game too.
That's awesome. Because when I was growing up, I had a Youth on Course experience, but I think it was illegal. We used to tip the starter $5 and then we jump over the fence, you know what I mean? But I'm glad that there's better ways for us to do that now. Yeah, y'all kept me out of a lot of trouble. But now, so let's transition a little bit. Obviously, we got a lot of songs for the youth golf and the junior golf section, but let's talk about these teenagers. I remember my teenage years being very interesting. I got into some very interesting things. And now with the advent of technology and all of these other advancement, and with people, discovering opposite sex, same sex, whatever their orientations are, it gets a little dicey. So as we will go back to you, how are we as a golf industry, and especially through Youth on Course, creating environments where we can keep teenagers involved?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think to your point, Roger, this is the age or point in life when kids are really focused on their friends and being social. And so I think one, providing as many opportunities as possible to get them together, whether that's instilling programs like girls golf, offering unique tea times for YOC members at your facility so that they can meet other people. That's what teens want to do, is they want to be where their friends are. Alternatively, I think this is a great age to start introducing to kids the opportunities beyond just playing golf, but opportunities to work in the golf industry too, right? We have an internship program, for example, that we offer for YOC members that starts at the high school age, because if you're waiting until they're in college, sometimes that's a little too late. Maybe they've made a different decision about what path they want to go on for their future career. And so I think thinking about it in that context is really important. How can we get them connected with other peers? How can we get them connected to mentorship and opportunities to meet folks who work in the industry so they can learn about the unique career opportunities that are available here?
And that's, one of the things that I really enjoy about, YOC and having access to that as a resource is you're really able to grab lumps of kids at a time, these huge groups, and bring them out to give them a golf experience, whether I'm grabbing whole basketball teams or members of football teams, baseball teams, and I'm using this, this discounted access to make sure that, they're having their community represented in the golf space. And I think that that's a huge opportunity for all of us to look at bigger groups of kids and say, how do we get them together and use the resources that are now available to us to do that. But Rich, I want to also pose that to you, on the teenage side, when we look at Discover Golf and, making the game more competitive and other, occupational opportunities, how do you address keeping the teenagers involved?
Well, so I think it goes back to the original point that I was making, is that if you're going to reconceptualize what junior golf can be, and you can reformat it into this kind of play theater, then you're suggesting a completely different term of engagement for those that are going to be game engineering, right? So we're trying to change the rhetoric in every possible way. So rather than saying, I need you to come in and coach kids, I want you to come in and empower kids through play. So I think what happens when you change the script and you have, again, a more, I would say, accessible entry point into the game through this kind of quasi-coaching initiative, however you want to frame it, is we're going to see at any given time at Deer Path 20 people on staff between the ages of 17 to 25. Those are, again, classic game engineers. Those are young kids that I think what is really important, I think that's going to showcase what we all want in the golf industry, which is a stronger representation of culture at large, right? So I think it's really critical that we think from a coaching standpoint, how do we make the job itself more attractive to those that maybe otherwise wouldn't be so inclined to go the traditional golf route? So it's something that I'm always thinking about.
Just a follow-up question, how do you, ladder up that experience? Like if I'm exploring this as a value proposition to an 18-year-old to come in and work and coach in golf, what do you sell them on as far as like how this experience ladders up for them in the real world?
It's a great question. I mean, I think what we have been able to demonstrate is that if you can be a fully functioning, articulate play engineer, you are basically getting a master's degree in behavioral psychology, right? So when you can manipulate the state of play, when you can change rules on the fly, when you can channel kids' best interest by simply watching how they're interacting with the environment, I think there's such a sense of self-awareness within you that's being able to manifest those kinds of real-time dynamics. So I think it is in every possible way, one of the most enriching in the trenches education for kids.
Sign me up, dog.
Let's do it.
Sign me up. So look, I want to transition to this young adult demographic. And so we got some stats up here, up on the slides. So we got 2/3 of this group or this segment of Gen Z that identify as social golfers. and I know that means different things to different people, but a lot of them are really leaning into this experience as a part of their, their social development. 81% said that the social aspect of the game is what drives their motivation to play. And again, that's something that we find in the teenage years as well. People looking to spend time around their friends, grow relationships, build meaningful bonds. 55% of Gen Z said that they are playing more because they've had improvement or lower scores. That goes back to what Brooke is saying, making sure that we have access to better instruction and that they're actually developing in the sport is a huge part of the retention component. Boy, Gavin right here, he doing that work too. And then 63% said that they are playing more because they prefer golf to other activities. So we are developing a genuine interest in the game of golf and people wanting to play golf just because they love golf, which is always healthy. I thought that, one of the things that worried me a little bit is that during COVID, a lot of people were playing because they just couldn't do anything else. Golf was the only thing that was legal to do during COVID. But I mean, it's very, makes us very happy to see that people genuinely love the game. A couple other stats, of course, it's had an opportunity to target the generation with social events and leagues. This is a huge part of my current golf experiences, is a lot of these events and a lot of these leagues where I get to show up and compete. But 70% say that they are interested in social events and leagues. 83% say that they currently don't play in the league. So what we see here is a huge opportunity to engage this generation. And, when we're looking at, this age group, obviously they have the most influence. The junior golfers are looking at them and say, I want to be like this, guy or gal. They have a little bit of spending power. They're starting to make, intentional decisions about where they're going to spend their, recreational time and where they're going to spend their disposable income. So let's start with you, Val. Like, what do you think is a huge opportunity here with providing these types of events to this demographic?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, there's a lot of exciting things going on at the show all around us right now. Those two slides are just as exciting as anything for those of us in the industry, because for years, better part of my professional career, we've been trying to tell the story to the people that don't play golf, that golf brings you to beautiful places. It engages you with family, friends in ways that are social and fun and healthy. And it was just hard to send that message. The boom that we've seen, Gen Z has found that on their own. They were forced into participating for whatever reason, out of necessity or the only thing they could do. And now they understand that. So we don't even have to have that discussion to convince them. So when they are telling us that they want to play in these leagues, I think the first step is be very intentional and purposeful with how you present them when you're marketing them in your golf communities. Again, golf is about bringing people together. It's about creating communities at your golf course, at your venue, whatever it may be. And if you can do that by calling it something other than a league, you're going to be already off to a great start. It's telling us right here, and we're seeing it at the properties across the country in our company, that these socially focused events are much, much more participated in. They're enjoyed much, much more, and the demand after the event to create more keeps coming. So when you go out to market and advertise your programs, don't call them leagues, first of all. Call them socials. Call them something. At Brooke's facility, when Brooke is one of the properties in my region, we set out to reach the couples that are coming to golf, because there's so many couples that want to network and meet with other couples and participate in golf in a social setting that has nothing to do with competition. And we called it Couples Night Out. And Brooke ran with it, and it killed it. And so we're creating Ladies Night Out and different types of organized communities that we're trying to build at the properties that appeal to every segment of Gen Z and other generations. But it's socially focused, but it's branded and marketed socially as well.
So the word league is corny, is what you're saying.
League applies for, I'll give you an example. So senior leagues, correct? Those are great because they do want to play in competitions, right? That's our boomers and traditionalists and some Gen Xers who participated in the game for competition. So it's okay to use the league there because it applies, because you have structured rules and format scoring. So league is okay there. So thank you for asking that, because I do want to clarify league has a place, but you have to use the terminology correctly for who you're trying to address.
Okay, because you did make me feel a little bit old, because I do enjoy the word league, because that's how I grew up, but I do identify as Gen Z as well, so put me in
we
the
all
hot
want
spot.
to identify as Gen Z, right? We're all 20, 30 years younger than we are.
Yeah. I'm sitting next to you. Be nice to me, baby. But look, so Brooke, I want to pass it to you. So you work with Spark Golf League, right?
Yes, we have had Spark, and it is such an incredible access to allow people that want to play golf. They don't know how to get involved or meet other people that want to play golf after work. So Spark is such a great way for people to get involved. And then on the operator side, it could not be easier that we get the players' names, we print all the printed materials. It's a 9-hole league, and it's a great way for people to go blow off some steam, be able to disconnect for a little bit actually from their live technology, their phones, but be able to play golf and find other people to enjoy time with out on a golf course, out in nature.
So how long have you been working with Spark Golf League? And what was
Uh,
kind of the inception? Give me the inception of that.
So I've been working with it for 2 years,
Okay.
and honestly, it was Val. It was due to Val's suggestion, and it was on it was on Thursday nights, and it could not have been an easier way to get people to the golf course, get them to Forest Creek, and it allowed them to know me, know one of the other instructors that's there, the other men and women that are at Forest Creek, and they started getting a sense of home. And then they realized about couples night out, and then that just blossomed on its own. For $100 you come out. It's a 9-hole scramble event, dinner's included in it, and then I would usually do a little pep talk. I never called it a lesson, because then they just get stuck on that. So I do a little pep talk of, this is what I want y'all to focus on. And they absolutely fell in love with it. And then you got other people to meet others that are out there that then, oh yeah, we're going to Arizona to go on a golfing vacation. And it just grew beyond my wildest dreams.
And when you look at the skill set of the disparity in skill set there inside of the Spark Golf League, are you dealing with everything from beginners to single digit handicappers, or where do they fall in the spectrum there?
There has been a shift, I would say, from 21 to 2022, with those 2 seasons that we've done. In the first year that I was dealing with it, it was a lot of brand new golfers, where it was those that wanted something to do, and golf just didn't get shut down during that time. And so with that, I actually, selfishly got a lot of lessons out of it. We can make this a lot more fun for you. Let's get a lesson package together. And then there was, that shift that the players got better. But having it in a scramble format, that immediately takes the pressure off, and that you've got somebody with you. So it makes it much more accessible for those to play golf and to not have so much pressure on it.
So what you're finding is that, even at this age, they still need ways to be competitive, but now they also need independent social experiences at the same time, kind of offered in the same ecosystem.
Exactly.
Yeah, and one of the great things Spark did is they created their community through their technology, and they built that technology and attracted the users, and then they connected the users to Brooke and the golf courses very, very quickly and efficiently, to where they made it easy on the operator, they made it easy on the community, and they built that community, and now they just deliver it to the properties.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And do you find, last question I have is, do you find that, people that play in the league are also a part of these same social events, and they kind of bounce back and forth between the two or find offshoots for it?
Oh, absolutely. And then they tell their friends, oh, you need to come to Forest Creek. There's couples night out on this Friday. You can do Spark. There's, all the different opportunities. But then it exposes them to others that are at the golf course that are maybe not in that social event or that league, that they find that they've got a lot of golf friends that they didn't even know they were capable of having.
That's it. So 18 to 25, they like to compete and party.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. Okay, so you brought up Val and Brooke, you both brought up an interesting point about the technology that the Spark Golf League uses. And so we have some interesting stats here about tech within this generation. So 75, or say players want to integrate innovative tech into golf using golf tracking technology, simulators, golf carts, GPS. But 75% say that they like to also listen to music on the golf course. 50% said disconnecting from technology motivates them to play which is a very interesting stat. And then 70% say that de-stressing motivates them to play golf, right? So it's like, it's an interesting balance. You see a lot of people relying on technology as a part of a more complementary golf experience, but we also see like this pull away from tech where it's like we need tech to be a part of it, but we don't need tech to be everything. You know, so can we just talk about that? I guess we'll throw it to you first, Val. Like, talk to us about technology within this 18 to 25 demographic.
Yeah, so I think this is very compelling data because the Gen Z golfer that's coming out of college using and finding their way to a golf course, they're doing a couple things. One is they are wanting to disconnect from the stressful part of technology, right? The emails, the appointments, the calls, the things that drag them back to what they're trying to escape from. I think what they're trying to escape from is the stressful part of the work world. As we've adapted more technology in our professional lives, it's bled over into our personal lives. So I think that's what they're trying to escape from. However, the greatest part is that they're listening to music, right? So they're using the technology to enjoy our sport on the golf course. And for a long time, you know, I didn't know what to think about music on the golf course till I tried it. And it was one of the coolest things ever because I all of a sudden didn't worry about score. I didn't care. I just was out there jamming and having a good time. And then I looked around and everybody else that adopts that technology to do it that way loves it. So I also think, while I don't want it to be misleading, the technology disconnection is really about disconnecting from the stresses of life, which is what every human being needs anyway. But using the technology appropriately to stay engaged in our game and realizing they can have a balance of both in our sport and on our golf courses.
Yeah, that's all. I mean, do we have a lot of music listeners out there on the golf course? Can you raise your hand if you listen to music while you play golf? Good. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't going to offend nobody. But you know, another psychological benefit of having a good playlist when you're on a golf course is that if you are trying to take somebody money, you can kind of skew the playlist to control the tempo of the round. So you know, if I'm down a little bit, I turn a certain type of music on. You know, make them relax a little bit. Maybe throw in a little R&B. If I'm up, I turn on something more aggressive, make them a little more fearful, stretch that lead out. So you know, don't just look at music as a way to just make it more fun. Use it as a strategy. You know what I mean? But
yeah, and the way they're using technology too, with the GPS on the carts, is becoming more and more popular. And there's people that argue about whether it's good or not. But if it's engaging the customer, do we really care, right? And there's ways to do it with teaching. And the key thing is, if they're engaging with the technology on the golf course for golf, by all means, it's great for our sport, and it's going to keep Gen Z more and more engaged.
100%. We got to make some concessions there. Actually, so on the youth on course side, there's also been some tech advances. You guys have an app that you roll out. Talk to us about some of the things that you're doing there to improve the experience through technology.
Yeah, definitely. You know, we're a unique junior golf program in that we don't actually connect in person with our members. They sign up online, they search for participating golf courses on our website, and so we're really intentional about the experience that we deliver really virtually. And so right now, for example, we're in the process of redesigning our website to make it really truly mobile first. Most of the visitors to our sites are coming in on their phone, and so we want to make sure that we have a really beautiful, really seamless experience for them. And the same thing for our app. So we're redesigning some aspects of our apps right now. Members use that to access their digital membership card and some of the other benefits that we offer, whether it's booking tee times online with Golf Now or accessing some of the streaming video services via Golf Pass. We started all of our research based on what it is that they wanted to see within the app. And so that stat about not wanting to necessarily use it while they play, we found that as well in our research amongst our members. They're more interested in finding other people in their community to play with and then rating their rounds afterwards as well. And so we're doing what we can to make sure that we continue to engage our members, again, virtually, but also preparing for the future, right? I think in a couple years, we're gonna see people checking in for maybe their tee times using just their mobile phone. So as much as we can engage them with our brand via our app and via our website, we're trying to prep for that.
Yeah, and I think that that's a very strong message about just not being afraid to leverage technology to build out that ecosystem and create these very cohesive ways that we can all, engage and get to the golf course and get with other like-minded people. Richard, I do want to ask you as well, on the development side, there's a lot of technology that's driving instruction and just game development within Gen Z. Could you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. I mean, I think it's important before you even approach the question is, maybe we tease out in the word itself, right? You look at the etymology of technology, you see this root techne, right, which is a Greek origin, which is this idea that there's an art and a skill in technology that reveals something. I think that's a really profound way to think about what technology is. I think we all make the mistake at times to see technology through the narrow lens of digital experiences. You can have technology in human communication. You can have technology in human understanding. And so, of course, as somebody who is motivated by the play aesthetic, of course, that's kind of my perspective. But I am increasingly leery of technology. It's for 10 to 13-year-olds specifically, because I'll speak to that demographic. I think we all inherently understand that technology needs to be used sensibly, with children. That, of course, there are these older demographics that we're talking about where it's creating less friction, entry into the game, easier to make it tea time. It's great to listen to your music. There are, of course, some amazing benefits to it. But I think if we take a little bit more of a 360 perspective of what technology really can mean in certain contexts, we can sort of dig into the humanistic endeavors of technology, and then just be very careful, I think, in how we expose the game through the digital medium and make sure it's actually empowering our players. I mean, I think the last thing I'll speak to that, which we maybe mentioned, is that I think players saw the latent technology within golf during COVID, right? That it was this escape, it was this sanctuary, it was this place where they could meditate and gesture with their body and be in touch with their environment. And so I think that is also a way that we should look at the true technology of golf, is that there's something really organic and special about it, and it's not just about how you present it on a screen.
That was heavy.
Sorry.
That was heavy. Man, we might have to go grab a drink after this. I can talk to you about some other stuff. But no, I do agree with that, though. I think that I look back at some of my most, memorable moments within golf, and it has been with an absence of technology, right? Like, I think about trips to Bandon Dunes or something like that, and I mean, cell phone pretty much useless out there, and you can't take a golf cart, and it's, it's
good.
You know what I mean? And I just, I do agree with you that there's a way that, technology can play a part to advance it, but we should be looking at these demographics and saying, like, I don't want to cripple you with the technology. I want it to be additive to the golf experience and not something that just gets you so far away from what this game can actually be, because you may miss a whole opportunity to derive benefit from it. Man, that touched me. So we're running out of time here, but I do want to ask each of you guys one last question. I mean, we've talked about a lot of different things across, a lot of different segments of this Gen Z demographic. Starting with you, Val, what's the most important takeaway for everybody out here as far as implementations that they need to make to help keep Gen Z engaged in golf?
Be very intentional with how you decide to communicate and engage with Gen Z. They're very specific about what they want, how they want to consume it, and how they want you to engage with them. So think about terminology like league versus social and when to use it. Both are appropriate, but make sure it applies to the right generation and who you're trying to attract with what you're trying to create. Be very, very focused on social. As you leave here today, as you go back to your properties, challenge your team to come up with events that are social, that create communities at your golf course. If you can create a community for every subsection of Gen Z or any other generation, because people need that engagement. They need to feel community, and that's what we all learned during the pandemic when we got locked in our houses, is we just needed to get back out and engage with people. And so if you can create those communities and you're very intentional about how you do it, how you market it, how you sell it, teach your staff to talk about it, you'll be very successful.
Wise words. Wise words. You're a nice guy. Brooke, give me your sentiments.
With this generation, it's making sure, as an instructor and all golf instructors out there, of making sure that they understand there is no perfect golf swing, that your golf swing may look different than the foursome that you're playing with, or your golf team, or your buddies, and that's okay. that your golf swing is just like your fingerprint or your signature. Own your move. And if you own that move, you will be more athletic. You're going to get better. You're going to have more fun. And it's just like your fingerprint. There's no difference there.
And that's, there are no truer words spoken than it. I got my boy over there, Will Lowry. For those of you who haven't met Will, he's cross-handed, and his swing moves in 17 different directions. If you watch it too closely, you might fall over. But somehow he manages to hit fairways, and that's, if he could do it, I mean, I'm bought in on what you're selling. I'm bought in on what's selling. Richard, give us some takeaways.
So, I think two things. One, as lovers of the game, I'm sure everybody sitting here as stewards of the game, I would encourage people to, as you were mentioning, think about the times that you were the most immersed in this game. The times that you felt like, that's really when I got better. Those were probably times where you were figuring it out, you were playing with your friends, you were in the moment present. So I think having a sense of what is truly wise about the game and making sure people connect to that is critical for programming and how you articulate and present the game to people. And then I think also looking at what seems to be clear, the trajectory of this game is that golf is going to be participated in a variety of ways. Whether it's Top Golf or Putt Shack or simulator golf or Discover Golf in a parking lot at a Corn Ferry Tour event or in Southside Chicago this summer, understand and appreciate that golf can be whatever it's going to be for whoever that person is. It does not have to be 18 holes. It doesn't have to have a pencil and a scorecard. It doesn't have to be compared to other people. This is a wonderful thing, this core loop, this stickball human. Stay focused on that and bag all the convention and worry about the person, and it's going to be fun.
Stickball human. You are deep, dog. We got to spend some time. Ashley.
I don't know how to follow that up. I don't have any quotes from
Stickball human.
Yeah. Darn. I would just say, I think as an industry, sometimes we forget that we are in the hospitality business and that creating experiences that are positive are incredibly important, particularly for this young demographic. I think ensuring that this group of people, particularly as I mentioned, these families who are trying to decide where they should spend their dollars, when they come to our facilities, they know and feel that their business is just as important as anybody else's. I'll also leave with a final plug for Youth on Course. We are one of the largest, if not the largest, youth program right now in golf. We have over 140,000 members who are part of our community, 90% of whom say they would not be able to afford the cost of golf, be able to afford the sport, if it weren't for this program. And so if your course is not already participating, I invite you to learn more about how you can get involved. We subsidize the cost so that we can help to bring your facility whole and so that we can make a better and more fruitful future for our sport as a whole.
Youth on Course is truly changing lives. And I just want to thank all of you all for participating and shedding light on how we could continue to make this game better for the next generation. We got a little bit of time left. If anybody has any questions out there in the audience, now's the time. Also, we all ready to make the game better for Gen Z. It's all. Any questions? All right. Thank you all. Thank you.